Imagine standing face to face with a creature taller than a house, weighing as much as 10 cars, armed with massive curved tusks that could toss a human through the air like a leaf in a storm. Now imagine trying to hunt that beast using nothing but stone tools, wooden spears, and your own intelligence. It sounds impossible. Yet ancient humans did it again and again. The real question is not how humans killed mammoths. The real mystery is why mammoths couldn't escape. For thousands of years, mammoths dominated some of the harshest environments on Earth. These giant relatives of modern elephants survived brutal ice ages, freezing winds, and predators that terrified nearly every other animal. They were powerful, intelligent, and incredibly resilient. On paper, they should have been nearly impossible to defeat. But that's not the strangest part. Ancient humans were physically weaker, slower, and far less dangerous as individuals. A single mammoth could easily crush a hunter beneath its feet. One swing of its tusks could end a life instantly. Yet somehow these enormous animals repeatedly fell into human traps. What secret did humans discover? To understand the answer, we have to travel back more than 10,000 years into a world unlike anything we know today. Vast frozen plains stretched beyond the horizon. Snow-covered grasslands supported herds of mammoths that migrated across enormous distances every year. They followed routes their ancestors had traveled for generations, and that detail would become their greatest weakness. Most people never realized that mammoths depended heavily on routine. Just like many large animals today, they often followed predictable migration paths in search of food, water, and safer breeding grounds. These routes were deeply ingrained in their behavior. Year after year, herd after herd traveled the same corridors. At first glance, this seems smart. Why change a route that has worked for centuries? But ancient hunters saw something different. They realized that predictability could be turned into a deadly trap. Instead of chasing mammoths across open landscapes, humans began studying them. They observed where herds traveled, where they rested, and where they crossed dangerous terrain. This wasn't random hunting. It was careful planning. Here's where things get even more interesting. Human beings possessed a weapon that mammoths could never develop. It wasn't strength, it wasn't speed, it was collective intelligence. One hunter might notice a narrow valley. Another might identify a steep cliff nearby. Someone else might track the seasonal movements of an entire herd. Together, these observations became knowledge. That knowledge became strategy. Suddenly, the balance of power began to shift. Imagine a herd of mammoths moving through a familiar migration route. The animals feel safe because they have traveled this path many times before. What they don't know is that dozens of hunters have already arrived. Hidden among rocks and brush, they wait patiently. The mammoths continue forward. Everything appears normal. Then chaos erupts. Hunters emerge from multiple directions, shouting, waving torches, and throwing spears. The objective isn't necessarily to kill the mammoths immediately. The goal is to control their movement, and that changes everything. A mammoth's greatest advantage was its size. But size comes with a hidden cost. Large animals cannot change direction quickly. They require time and space to react. When panic spreads through a herd, those limitations become even more dangerous. Researchers believe some ancient hunters exploited this weakness masterfully. As frightened mammoths rushed away from human attackers, they could be guided toward natural hazards. Steep ravines, deep mud, soft ground, narrow passages. Locations where their immense size suddenly worked against them. What happened next shocked researchers. Archaeological sites around the world have revealed evidence suggesting that entire groups of the mammoths may have been driven into deadly situations. In some locations, massive accumulations of mammoth bones indicate repeated hunting events over long periods of time. Think about what that means. These weren't lucky accidents. They were carefully planned operations. The hunters understood the landscape almost as well as the mammoths themselves. Every hill, every valley, every bottleneck became part of a giant hunting strategy. But there was another problem humans had to solve. Mammoths rarely traveled alone. Many lived in social herds led by experienced females. These animals communicated, protected one another, and responded collectively to threats. Hunting a single mammoth was difficult enough. Hunting an entire herd required extraordinary coordination. The real mystery begins when we consider how ancient humans achieved that coordination. Unlike other predators, humans could share complex ideas. They could discuss plans before a hunt. They could assign roles. Some hunters acted as drivers. Others waited in ambush positions. Some monitored escape routes. This level of cooperation was revolutionary. A pack of wolves works together instinctively. Humans work together strategically. That difference changed the history of the planet. Picture a hunt unfolding over several hours. Teams communicate using gestures, sounds, and prior planning. Every person understands their role. Every movement serves a larger objective. Meanwhile, the mammoths react only to what is happening in the present moment. And that gave humans a critical advantage. The mammoths could see danger. Humans could imagine it before it happened. That ability to predict future outcomes may have been one of the most powerful evolutionary tools ever developed. But that's not the end of the story. Even after reaching a trap zone, a mammoth remained an incredibly dangerous opponent. A wounded animal could destroy attackers in seconds. One mistake could turn hunters into victims. This is why patience became essential. Rather than relying on brute force, many hunting groups likely focused on exhausting their prey. They applied pressure, limited escape options, and exploited environmental conditions. Winter could become a weapon. Deep snow could slow movement. Frozen surfaces could increase risk. Nature itself became an ally. And slowly, the impossible became possible. The giant that seemed invincible was no longer facing a handful of hunters. It was facing intelligence, planning, teamwork, and an understanding of behavior. The mammoths never truly lost because they were weak. They lost because humans discovered how to turn the mammoths' strengths into vulnerabilities. And in part 2, we'll uncover the biggest twist of all. The surprising reason mammoths may have been trapped by something far more powerful than spears, cliffs, or human numbers.